President Bukele, thank you very much for speaking to Sky News. You are El Salvador's youngest ever president. The country has dealt with decades of poverty, violence and corruption. How do you plan to turn things around?
Well, forever. Actually, the country has dealt with that forever, since the country exists. I think it's quite a challenge, and we know it is quite a challenge. Some people say that probably we dream too much, or we think that we can change things around, and it's impossible because El Salvador is so poor and so small, and in the middle of Central America, which is a poor region, and we're in the third world. So what can we do about that? I mean, it's too many challenges that are too big, that had been there forever. Corruption, poverty, exclusion, violence. This has been a violent country for almost half a century. Since before the war, you had insurgent groups, then you had the Civil War, then after the Civil War, we had the homicide rate spike, and now we're fighting the gangs. So actually, we've been in violence, in poverty, in exclusion, lack of economic growth. If you go to the countryside, it's even worst. So when you look at all of the problems together, it seems like an impossible task. But when you look one by one, every problem, and trying to find one solution for every problem, things have to change. So it's a lot of work, and how we plan to do it? Well, first, we are doing it. We're changing how things were done before. We have a cabinet that's working 24/7. I don't let them sleep. I text them at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m., at 5 a.m. Sometimes they don't answer, but they answer early in the morning. They have to work on Saturdays and Sundays. It's like I tell them it's not our first month. I told them yesterday, we had a meeting with the cabinet, and I said, it's not our first month. We only have 59 months left. So you have to think that way, because we only have 59 months left. And in 30 days, we will only have 58 months left. So it's actually not quite a lot of time, but I think it's enough to change the way things have been done in the past. And I think it's enough time, 5 years is enough time to not only change the way things were done, but also put the country in the right path. And that in every sense, economics, corruption, security, everything, even politics. We changed the way politics were done. So I think, well, I think, and I'm quite sure El Salvador will have a bright future compared to what we have right now. It will be a lot different well, hopefully it will be a lot different when we look at this country in 5 years.
The deaths of Oscar Martinez and his daughter Valeria caused shock around the world. Some Democrats in the United States blamed Donald Trump for their deaths. Do you? No, I
don't want to be apologetic about the United States immigration policies. That's not my point. The point is that which country did Oscar and Valeria fled? Did they fled the United States? Did they fled Mexico? Did they fled Guatemala, Honduras? They fled our countries. It's our fault. We didn't provide the security that they needed here. We didn't provide the jobs that they needed here. We didn't provide economic prosperity. Probably in their family they didn't have a house. They didn't have running water. Probably they didn't have a job. If Oscar really had here a decent job, decent paying job, a house, a community that's safe for him, for his wife, for his daughter, they would be alive here working. So they felt that fleeing the country, crossing 3 borders, a desert, a river, which they finally drowned, that for them they felt that was safer than staying here. So the only way to end these types of tragedies is to make our country a place where anybody would say probably has no, everybody will have a perfect life, but everybody would rather stay here, rather to risk their lives crossing 3 borders, a desert, and crossing rivers. We also saw that video of that. It was a Salvador, a man that failed the train, the beast that is called, this train. He tried to get into the train, he fell, and the train crossed him and cut his 2 legs. I mean, what does this man in the planning of his life, he goes, tries to get into a train, falls down, the train cuts his legs. I mean, why do our people risk so much to go to the United States, a country which they don't know the language, they don't have documents, they will be called illegals, they will be 3rd-class citizens, and still they take all those risks to get there. What type of country do we live in that the people have this urgency to flee and risk their lives and their kids' lives? And this was a loving father. I mean, you could see in the picture, he wrapped up his daughter. I mean, it's not that he didn't love his daughter and he said, "Oh, I will risk my daughter." No, I mean, if you can see in the picture, there was a love in that. And they drowned. They drowned because they fled, because they tried to get to another country, which is not their country, but they tried to get there because they felt that even the risk were, all those risks were better than staying here in their home. So I mean, whose fault is that? It's our fault, and it's. Of course, there's other things that you can fix, and in the borders, there's people that kidnap migrants in Mexico. They traffic with kids to sell their organs. I mean, this is. But why would people take those risks? And we're not talking about 1, 2, 1,000. We're talking about millions. Right now, almost 3 million, 1/3 of our population lives abroad. I mean, 1/3 of our population had fled our country. Why? I mean, isn't something wrong with us? Of course, it's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with our country, and we have to fix it. We're the only ones that can fix it. Of course, we can get some help from the international community, from whatever NGOs, but we have to fix our country. So, and every day that we don't fix it, more people like invisible Oscars and invisible Valerias are dying trying to cross and trying to get to the United States.
It takes years to turn things around. Are you concerned that you're going to see many more die in the coming months?
No, in my life, I was a businessman, and then I was a mayor, and then I was mayor of the capital. I was blessed that I never took a decision that will imply people to die. So now, almost all decisions imply people dying, because, and it's very hard to take. I mean, to be in the position where you have to take a decision that even if you take it the right way, it will imply people dying. It's very hard. For example, if you go to our hospitals, we lack medicines, we lack medical supplies, we lack doctors, we're lacking nurses. And you would say, okay, let's get $500 million more in the budget and let's put it into our hospitals so people will not die there. But then we will not have enough money to build roads and bridges and water supply and electric supply, so the country will not grow. And 3 years from now, we will not have money for the medicine and for the hospitals. So then you make the decision to increase the budget, but not so much so you can fix the problem. That could be the right decision, but at the same time, you're deciding that people will not have medicine. And so what I'm trying to say is that like you ask, it takes so long to fix something that in the process, people will suffer because you're not fixing it immediately. And you're picking winners and losers. And this is, I mean, it shouldn't be that way. But what option? I mean, if you want to fix the things, you have to fix it as fast as you can. But in the meantime, migrants will still risk it. Will still try to go to the United States, and some of them will still be kidnapped, and some of them will still be raped. Some of them will still die. And what do we do? I mean, how do we fix it as fast as we can? And you can say, no, I'm working a lot. Yeah, fine, but the people that are dying, are you going to give them their lives back? Are you gonna bring them back to life for the families that have lost these members of their families? What are you going to say to them? I mean, are you going to say, no, don't worry, we're making the country better? I mean, yeah, but they already lost their loved ones. So it will take time, and in the meantime, we're still going to suffer because of all the problems we have: violence, healthcare, education, exclusion, immigration, lack of jobs, and that. So. But what else can we do but run and work and do as best as we can and try to fix the problems as fast as we can so people will not suffer, people will not die, and people will stay here in their homes, but not only because we tell them or because we tell them the risk of it. They know the risks. But still, for them, it's even riskier to stay here. So we have to deliver results fast, and we have to. That's why I don't know, this 32 days for us, I felt it has been like a year. And hopefully we will be able to make every month a year. So we will have 59 months left, but it would look like 59 years because this opportunity to fix our country, I will not have it again. It's the only opportunity life will give me to do that. So probably I think we're going to change things around, turn things around, and we'll do it as fast as we can.
Donald Trump said that a war would have stopped and ultimately saved Oscar and Valeria. What do you say to that?
No, it's wrong. I mean, you know, the United States have all the right to do a wall if they want to. I mean, it's their country; they can do a wall or whatever. In Europe, you have a Mediterranean Sea as a wall. And people flee Africa, and they try to go to Europe to find the same things. People that fleeing El Salvador are looking in the United States. So even if you build the Mediterranean Ocean, people will still go. People will still risk it and travel and try to swim and get into a boat or whatever and try to find prosperity and try to find a decent living for their families. So yeah, they can build a wall. I mean, it's their country, but they can build. In fact, if they build the Mediterranean Ocean, they will still have migrants trying to get to the United States because people will flee poverty, people will flee insecurity, people will flee wars. So that's just a fact. Look at Syria. I mean, I'm no fan at all of the leader of Bashar al-Assad, but they had a war in Syria, and now even doctors and lawyers are fleeing with their families. So why do they flee? Do they flee because Europe doesn't have enough borders, or do they don't have enough border patrols? Or no, they flee because they have a war in Syria. So in El Salvador, we have such bad conditions that people will flee to the United States because they think that they will find a better life in there. So they will risk everything. And if they build a wall, migrants will build the tunnel, or they will go through the sea, or they will, I don't know, they will go to the sides of the wall. I mean, a wall would not have stopped anything. Probably a wall would cause more deaths because it will be harder, and people will try to build a tunnel, and then the tunnel will fall, and some people will die in the tunnel. I mean, physical barriers like the river, only cause more suffering and deaths. The only way to stop migration humanely is to develop the places they are migrating from. It's Donald Trump's responsibility? No. I mean, he's the president of the United States. He has to look for the United States' interests. So it's our responsibility, right? So does Donald Trump always save Oscar? No. Probably another physical barrier will have more people died in the trying to cross. But it's his responsibility? No, I don't think so. It's not Donald Trump's responsibility to fix El Salvador or Honduras or Guatemala or the South or Southeast Mexico. It's our responsibility to do it. So if they want to help, fine. But if they don't want to help, well, it's still our responsibility.
There were reports that Donald Trump used an expletive to describe your country, that he said that El Salvador was a
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, I remember when he said that, and I said, I immediately, I was mayor of San Salvador, and I reacted and said, let's demonstrate him that we're not what he says. Because, politicians in this region, here, in this country, in my country, including me, we tend to be we tend to get we have a lot of discourse dignity. It's like, oh, they are saying bad things about our country. Yeah, but what are we doing to make it better? What are we doing to make it different? They say, oh, Salvadoran politicians are corrupt. Oh, they are saying that we're corrupt. Why don't we stop corruption then? So then nobody will say that. And if they say that, they're wrong. I mean, what are we worried about? Somebody saying that we are a shithole, like Donald Trump said, or giving the reasons to someone. I'm not apologizing for Donald Trump's remarks, but shouldn't be better if we build a country that's not a shithole? And if someone wants to say it is, well, he's wrong. But right now, I will never call my home like that, but our hospitals are crumbling, our infrastructure is crumbling, our young people are joining the gangs because they don't have a job, because they don't have opportunities, because their families have been torn apart by immigration. Our countryside was very prosperous 50, 60 years ago. Right now, there are no jobs. We're importing bananas. They say that we're a banana republic, and we eat like 130 million bananas a year, and we import 100% of them. So a banana republic imports all of its bananas. So we're not a banana republic, but we should be. I mean, we should be growing those 130 million bananas. So, I mean, fine. There's people that want to posture and be. It's fine. I mean, we have free speech, thank God. So they can blame and they can be mad at the remarks, but I prefer to focus in building a country and building a society that people will not call us that way, and if they do, they're wrong, because we are not like that. But we have to demonstrate it with facts, not only with discourse.
I don't know if you've seen the images released by the American government today of the detention centres where migrants from El Salvador and other countries are being held. They show overcrowding, yes. Reports of people not able to use the toilet. Right. One manager said that it's a ticking time bomb. How concerned are you about your people inside those detention centres?
Very. I think that we have to come up with a solution fast. I spoke with Secretary of Homeland Security yesterday, and I said, I mean, we have to come up with solutions fast, because this can become a humanitarian crisis. It is already a humanitarian crisis, but it can become something even worse. I mean, you don't want that. on your back, and we don't want that for our people. This is our people, so we have to take care of them, and let's figure out something that we can take care of our people. We can take them all back, but I mean, we can we have to, if the United States chooses to send them all back. But we have to come up with a humanitarian solution. These are human beings, and these are not delinquents or I mean, this is people looking for a better life. I mean, kids. There's a lot of kids, women, old people, people with disabilities. I mean, I mean.
Do you think it's inhumane, the treatment?
Yes, it is inhumane, and we have to come up with a solution. And we're if we need to be part, I mean, we have to be part of the solution, and we're ready to be part of it. But we have to come up with a solution before we have not a humanitarian crisis, but a humanitarian catastrophe.
Is the President of the United States right to cut aid to your country?
This is not about right or wrong. It's their money. Would prefer him not to cut the aid? Of course. I would perhaps prefer him raising the aid. But it's their money. I mean, the U.S. taxpayer, they don't have to. They're not obligated to send money to us. I remember talking to Secretary Ross, Secretary of Commerce of the United States, when they some days after they cut the aid, and said, "Well, it's unfortunate. You can do that, of course, but maybe we can trade it for some with a trade mission. So if you cut the aid, it's $130 million a year. But maybe we can get some investments coming from the United States here. It could be private, could be pushed by the government. They have the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, and we got a loan for a private company, U.S. private company, for investing here in energy of $350 million, and they pledged that they will have $1 billion in loans for U.S. companies that wanted to invest here. So I said to Secretary Ross, okay, if your government wants to cut the aid, that's bad for us. But maybe we can trade it for investment. So if we can create more investment here, that's going to be better than aid, because we can create jobs and it's more sustainable than just getting free money. So is he right? Well, I don't know. It's their money. For us, it's bad news. They're bad news. But maybe we can trade it for some other things that are better for a country, like investment. And the programs that were functioning with that aid, they're still functioning. Out of the aid that was cut for El Salvador for the next years is like $540 million. So they say that at the end they said out of the $540 million, they said the $430 million that are already enacted, they're already placed or allocated in projects, they will still run. So there's only like 100 and something million dollars that has been cut. And they said, and we're gonna hold that till we see that these countries are making the right things to stop immigration. So probably at the end, we'll still get most of the aid. But anyways, I mean, we cannot be asking for free money and still be mad if they don't send it, right? So I would rather have the United States send more aid to these countries. It would be good for them, because if we fix the problems here. I remember when George W. Bush said, we're going to take the war to the Middle East so it doesn't come here. I don't approve of the war, but he had the logic of taking the war over there so they wouldn't have the war in their homeland. So why not applying the same logic to immigration? If they send prosperity and jobs here, they want to have the migrants in their doors. So I think, I mean, the U.S. taxpayer and the U.S. government are free to do with their money whatever they want. But if I was advising the U.S. government, and I was not president of El Salvador, of course, because that would be a conflict of interest, I would say we should send some prosperity and jobs over there so the migrants won't come here.
One of the key challenges you face is a very violent gang in MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha. I've seen firsthand gang members inside prisons here in San Salvador, and I've witnessed the families of victims in the United States as well. Can you reassure the public here and in the United States that we're going to see a reduction in the brutal violence that we've seen recently?
I'm sure we will, yes. The gangs is a very particular and phenomenon. This is not only a criminal issue. If you see at gangs here, some say there are 50,000, some say there are 60,000, some say there's 70,000. Of course, we don't have a census, but studies claim between 50,000 and 70,000 gang members here, which is more or less 1% of population living in El Salvador. So that will be a little less than 1%. So that would be a very small percentage of the population causing a lot of trouble. But if you look at all of them, none of them, not even one out of the 70,000 or 60,000, whatever the number, not even one of them comes from a rich family. Not even one of them, not even middle class. They're all poor. They all come from poor families. Of course, yes. The problem is that the issue has evolved so much into a criminal organization. This is a criminal organization. I mean, it started because of poverty. But I wish I could set the clock back, right? When these kids were, when they were kids and they were 12, and we could do something about it. But right now, you have people that have raped dozens of women, that have killed 3, 4, 5 people that are in jail right now. And some of them are in the streets. And yeah, he became a gang member. I'm 100% sure, 100%. I don't have one decimal of a percent of a doubt that they became a gang member because of the conditions of exclusion and poverty that they live in. But what can we do now but capture him and put him in jail? What else can we do? I mean, do we talk to him? Do we tell him, okay, look, stop raping women or stop killing people? This is a very, this should have been solved in the 90s when it started. It wasn't. They just let it grow. It grew. I remember politicians said, "No, this is just like a fad, like something that's fashionable right now." In the 90s, it would erode itself, and now it's probably the main problem we have, because it's not only a security problem; it's also a problem for growing our economy. No, people will not want to invest in a country that is plagued by gangs or tourism. We have the best surfing beaches in the world, or one of the best surfing beaches in the world, but a lot of surfers will say, no, well, I'm not going to go because they're plagued by gangs. So at the end, it's a vicious cycle, because then you have more young people without a job because the economy doesn't grow, and then not all of them, but 1% of them, they join the gangs and they cause all this trouble. So we have to fix the problem in a holistic way. We have to go and dispute young people and trying to get all the young people before the gangs get them, and we have to get the kids before the gangs get them, and we have to go into their communities and say, no, you don't have to join the gang. You can have the scholarship or do this, and we provide jobs for the people living in communities, trying to provide the things that the gangs have provided in a way. For example, gangs provide security for them. I mean, it's ironic, but they go to the places that they have created a chaos, and they say, okay, do you want your family to be safe? Yes. Okay, so join the gang. So they create the insecurity, but at the same time they provide the security if they join the gang. But if the government is able to provide security, then you don't have to join the gang to be safe. If the government is able to provide you with a good education, with a job, if the government respects you the way you are, if you're a graffiti artist, or you like breakdance or hip hop. Before, that was considered being like a gang-like behavior. If you skate or if you have tattoos, that's like being. So, and a lot of people were stigmatized by that. But of course, graffiti is an art also. It's a worldwide recognized art. Tattoos are also an art, body art. So you have skate is a worldwide sport, right? You have famous international competitions. So what we will try to do is having, okay, with the government, we have skate competitions. You have graffiti artists coming from New York, from Australia, from Mexico, from Europe, and now working together with graffiti artists here, and we make huge murals, but not with gang paintings, but we have I don't know, Martin Luther King with one of his sayings or something, and then international media reports that. We did that when I was mayor of San Salvador, and all these graffiti artists were suddenly recognized. And then for them, it's for a 18-year-old, which is easily sway one way or the other, having the government, not only the national government, but also municipalities or even NGOs, if you can provide the good way, like the good path, but the good path is not only the path of strong discipline and traditional education, but also DJing or surfing or skating or freestyling or breakdancing. We have more resources than the gangs. We have more legitimacy. We can get more coverage from media. We can, I mean, we can be on a real alternative for young people, and that 1% can be reduced to 0.1%. If you reduce it to, because well, you always have psychopaths, right? But it will not be 70,000 psychopaths. Probably you have 5,000 psychopaths. So then it will not be a social problem or a poverty problem. It will be a criminal problem. Well, if you provide all opportunities to him and he still chooses to kill people, well, then he's a criminal. He's a sociopath. We will catch him and we'll take him to jail. The problem will be smaller. And even in the worst case scenario, when the government is totally incompetent and can't get any of them, they will be still be 1/10 of what they are right now. So the crimes will be 1/10 of what they are right now. Homicides will be 1/10 of what they are right now. And of course, the government shouldn't be incompetent and should be able to get them and put them to jail. So I really think that we could reduce gang violence and all violence, since gang violence here is 75% of all the violence. So we can reduce all violence, gang violence included, and I really think we'll make an dent, even with 32 days in government. But I'm sure that 1 year from now and 2 years from now, neither to say 5 years from now, the results and the numbers will be very, very different.
Does that mean more military and more police on the street? Because some people you speak to say that there's a culture of fear around that.
Yes. I don't. You should do not a poll, but like ask people on the street. I mean, in London, for example, I've seen police officers. Sometimes they don't carry a gun. They don't need a gun. If you have a policeman without a gun here, they will kill him, because it's a trophy for gangs to kill a police officer.
There are reports of extrajudicial killings.
Yes, yes, that's the same evil as the gangs, and we are fighting that. Yesterday, we jailed 3 police officers. We captured 3 police officers because they are suspects of being part of extrajudicial killing group. We captured them and put them in jail just yesterday. No, I mean, killing is killing. If it's done by a gang or by this so-called, what do they call themselves? They call the extrajudicial killing groups. I don't remember how they call themselves. Killing is, murder is murder. So we'll get anybody that commits a crime, if it's a gang member or a police officer or a government official or whomever. I mean, he could be a priest, or I don't know. If he commits a crime, and we know he has committed a crime, we'll get him and we'll put him in jail. But what you ask about the presence of military and police officers, I think it. I remember when some people, tourists come and they see in cafe shops or restaurants, and they see a guy with a gunshot, with a shotgun. And they say, "What's happening here?" And I said, "No, he's just a guy who takes care of the care of the security of the restaurant." I said, "Really? But is this place safe?" Yes. I mean, for us, that's business as usual. So for the population, seeing military or seeing police officers in the street, that gives them a sense of security. Shouldn't be that way. But we have to transition from a violent society to a peaceful society. And we have to control the territory. We have to have presence of police officers. And since we don't have enough, we cover it with military. So people will feel safe walking on the street, or will feel safe selling or going into a restaurant, knowing that, well, at least you can see police officers around, so you will feel safe. At least safer than the day before. Of course, you can feel a lot safer in a country that you need that. But here you do need that. If you don't have that, you will have killings, you will have some homicides, you will have people being assaulted. So people are even asking to put one police per bus. We don't have enough. But people ask us to do that because they feel safer if a policeman is in the bus.
It's an incredibly divisive time in the immigration debate, and you have an American president who's been accused of being a racist. Do you think he is?
No, I don't think he's a racist. No. I don't know him, but I don't think he's a racist. It wouldn't make sense in his life. I mean, I don't know his life, but I've seen it in TV, and before he was.
His language around Mexicans, describing them as rapists, as criminals.
Yes,
does that concern you?
I think it's, no, of course, but I think that plays more to his base. Yeah, it's probably more an electoral discourse than really being a racist. I really don't. I mean, I'm not judging him. I wouldn't put my hands in the fire for him either. I don't think he's a racist.
He's a man you can do business with?
Yeah, he's a businessman. I mean, you have to do business. And for us, the United States is just, it's not a thing you can ignore. I mean. You're
economically dependent.
Totally. The majority of our exports go to the United States. The majority of our imports come from the United States. Our currency is the US dollar. 90% of our immigrants go to the United States. One-fourth of our population lives in the United States. And our economy is sustained by $5.4 billion coming in remittances from the United States. So for us, the United States is not a question as if are we willing to work with the United States. I mean, we have to work with the United States. We're dependent on so many issues with the United States that we just have to work with them and try to find solutions to the problems that we have that can be solved working with the United States. And some of our problems are common, like the immigration crisis in the border. That is a problem. That's a common problem that we have. They have a problem, and we have the problem because it's our people, and they have the problem because they're in their territory and in their custody.
Did anyone from the administration reach out to you after the deaths of Oscar and Valeria?
No, not of the U.S. administration, no. They have reached to us for the immigration crisis, for the people that are in the United States. We have issues like TPS, DACA. We have all sort of issues, trade, aid, investment, geopolitical issues, etc. But nothing about Oscar and Valeria.
You're just 37. You're due to become a father yourself.
Yeah.
Seeing the image.
This is the first thing I thought. What's the difference between Oscar and Valeria and me and my daughter? The first thing I thought. The difference is that our country didn't provide opportunities for him to provide for his family, so he was trying to find that in the United States, and he died in the way.
Would it be a source of some inspiration for you to try and make a change?
Yes, yes, of course, yeah. And knowing that Oscar and Valeria is just the face, the tip of the iceberg. Imagine how many Oscars and Valeria we don't know about. I mean, kids have been not only dying in the road, they also have been being kidnapped. They sell their organs. They traffic with them, with little girls. They were for sexual trafficking. I mean, knowing that sometimes putting a face to a tragedy makes us put more attention to the tragedy. If you just read numbers, 1,000 people die. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't connect like putting a face to it. So knowing that Oscar and Valeria and their tragedy is the face of thousands of Salvadorans, and not only Salvadorans, migrants, but in our case, Salvadorans, that suffer just because they're trying to get to the United States, fleeing our country. Yes, of course. It's not that type of inspiration you want, of course, but yes, if that doesn't move you, I mean, what will move you? Of course, it pressures us to do things faster and better, and to commit not only to the people but to ourselves that we cannot mess up. We cannot mess this opportunity up. We have to take advantage of this opportunity and fix the problems that our country have. We have just 59 months left, and we have to fix it.
President Bukele, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the